Hey, give me twice this week. Uh, we started on the trumpet judgments. Joe, there's three sets of seven judgments. There's 21 judgments in all for a 7 year period. The first seven judgments take place in the first 3.5 years. These are called the sealed judgments. And, and this scroll is brought out, and they ask John if anyone's worthy, and John looks around, and no one's grabbed it and opened it yet, so he starts to cry, and then he says, "Oh, don't cry, John. Jesus is going to open it." So he opens it, and we get the Ride of the Four Horsemen. We also get the Wrath of the Lamb earthquake, 30 minutes of silence in heaven, and that leads us to the trumpet judgments. We talked about the first seven trumpet judgments. First of the seven trumpet judgments. We saw that all the grass is going to be destroyed. A third of the trees are going to be destroyed. Then we saw that the seawater was destroyed and poisoned, and one third of the ships were destroyed on the waters. And then the wormwood is going to fall from the sky. It's going to poison the fresh waters. Uh, we also talked about 2/3 of the sun and moon will be the only thing that's visible. This will only affect the light on the earth, but it will also affect the weather as temperatures will be colder. So at this point, we have killed off a lot of people on Earth. The war is going to take a lot of people. Uh, Earthquakes going to kill a fourth of what's left of them. So we have all of this going on. And then at this point, the angel declares a woe for the next three judgments. And we'll take a look at these next three judgments and we'll be done for the night. Uh, the first of the woe judgments, we'll see the unleashing of demonic locusts. And they will attack the non-tribulation saints. Now, remember what we said tribulation saints was. Since the age of the church is over, the term Christian may not be applicable at this particular time. So a lot of us has deemed anyone saved during the tribulation as tribulation saints. The locusts will be unleashed, and everyone but the tribulation saints will be stung, and the sting will hurt for 6 months. Can you imagine hurting for 6 months from a sting? You'll want to die. You'll try to kill yourself, but you're not going to be allowed to die. You're going to be made to suffer for the full judgment. And we will probably lose a lot of people during this time too. Once it's over with, we won't lose anybody during it because everybody's going to be suffering. The second of the woe trumpets, we'll see the release of 200 million horsemen. These will be demons from hell. They're going to be released to kill non-believers. 1/3 of the non-believers on earth at this time will be killed by the horsemen. If you're down here and you're a non-believer, my suggestion is to find you a place to hide until the horsemen get done killing 1/3 of the people. So we got two woes. We've got the demonic locust that's going to attack all non-Christians or non-tribulation saints, and the 200 horsemen that's going to kill 1/3 of non-believers. The seventh trumpet opens up the bowl judgments. Let's go ahead and finish the judgments tonight. These bowl judgments are worth looking at. We'll look at a few of them. Don't know if I'm going to finish them or not, but we'll look at a few of them. The first bowl judgment, we'll see painful sores on those that have taken the mark of the beast and worship the image. Now, we talked before we started the trumpet judgments, in between a small space in between the tribulation and the great tribulation. Remember, there's two of them. There's the tribulation, which will be the first 3.5 years. Then the Antichrist will be assassinated, but then he will recover and he will start the great tribulation, which means that you will have to take the mark of the beast and you'll have to worship the image that is. Yeah, that's right, Yoda. You have to worship the image. Thank you for telling me that. There's two things you have to do. If you do not do them, you're going to have your head cut off. Yes, we're going to tell them that too. Thank you. Now, those that did that, when the first bowl is poured out on the earth, will get painful sores for having taken the mark and worshipped him. Once again, in bowl 2, there is problems with the seas again. Once again, the seas will turn to blood. Seems to be a bad time for water down on earth during this time. And bowl 3 will come right in behind that, and it will turn fresh water to blood. The only people that will have fresh water will be the tribulation saints. Then bowl 4, after that is over with. I do not know how long these bowl judgments will last, because we've got to get the trumpet judgments and the bowl judgments within 3.5 years. My guess is it will not last very long. There will be scorching heat in the fourth bowl. You think Texas summers are hot? That ain't nothing compared to what's fixing to hit. Yeah, there's going to be ecological problems, but you ain't going to be able to stop them by stopping to drive your cars and going to electric instead of gas. You're not going to be able to go outside during the day if you're a non-believer. Tribulation saints will be able to. It's going to be a horrible, horrible heat wave. Now, once the heat wave is over with, that leads us to bowl 5, which will immerse the world of non-believers into total darkness. It might be that it's an atmospheric anomaly, or it might be that you're struck with blindness. Both have been done in the Bible, so I'm not exactly sure how that will work out, but that will be done for a short time, and then it all breaks loose. Well, it's all broke loose anyway, but it breaks loose even worse. Bowl 6 will dry up the Euphrates River. This will open up one path for one army to come through. Bowl 6 is also a preparation for bowl 7. Bowl 7 is the final act of judgment, which will be Armageddon. It is not going to be one battle in one area. It's going to be battles all across Israel. The original borders will be given back to Israel at this particular point. There will be so much death that Blood will run up to a horse's bridle. Now, here's the way it's going to be. It's going to be the armies coming into Israel to punish Israel. As you know, the devil's been after Israel ever since the birth of Jesus. The devil's been before the birth of Jesus after them to stop the birth of Jesus. And afterwards, he was after them to punish them for the birth of Jesus. It looked like that he will finally have his goal met. And it looks like it's going to be the end of Jerusalem. That's when the heavens will open up, as my friend Pam Monroe used to say. And the lights of heaven will shine all around. And Jesus will come on his white horse. We're talking about the Christians and the saints, we'll be on our white horses right behind Jesus, and behind us is going to be the angels. And there will be a series of mighty battles. They'll fire weapons at us, and they'll fire weapons at the Jews, and none of them will have any effect. Jesus will open up his mouth, proclaim his word, and they will drop dead. From the greatest to the least. At this point, once the war is over, God will call on the birds of the earth and the birds of heaven to come and have a feast on the dead soldiers, the dead generals, the dead leaders of the world. And at this particular time, the Antichrist forces will be defeated, and most of the Antichrist's leadership will be killed. Then you have a series of things that will take place during this time that we think is going to take place during this time. You will see the goats and the sheep judgment. The goat and the sheep judgment means that all the Christians will be herded on one side, non-belief Christians, tribulation saints, Old Testament saints, New Testament saints, they will be herded on one side. Non-believers will be moved to the other side. Let me go back. I left something out. This is my fault. I defeated the Antichrist, but I left the Antichrist kind of sitting there not doing nothing. Let me go ahead and we'll come back to the goats and sheep in a minute. The Antichrist will be captured and thrown into hell. False prophet will be captured and thrown into hell. They will be the first two and the longest to be in the pit. They will go in alive. They will stay alive. Their spiritual bodies will burn forever. It is not like a physical body. If you are a sinner, if you are lost, if you are a non-believer, you will not get a new physical body. You will be stuck with your body you have now, except it will be in spiritual form. And a spiritual form body will not be destroyed by the fires of hell. Okay, now that we've got that done, we've got rid of the Antichrist, we've got rid of false prophets. Satan will be tied up, but Satan will not be thrown into hell. He will be put in one of the cells of hell, the first hell, because he's going to get to come out another season before the end of time, and we'll find out why. So then you have the goat and the sheep judgments. All the people that's on the goat side will be cast into the bottomless pit as well. So they will all be sent to hell to be eternally burnt forever and ever and ever. Satan is locked up for 1,000 years. And as we said, the Antichrist and the false prophet are thrown into the bottomless pit first. So they will have seniority. Not that that means anything down there. It's one thing I would not want to have seniority in. Then that will end the tribulation. The 7 years will see the destruction of 2/3 of mankind. It'll see the ecological destruction, economical destruction, and complete destruction of the New Babylon. New Babylon will be destroyed within an hour. War's over with. Finally, the world has not been cleansed, but the devil cannot affect the world like he's been doing it. All of the devil's agents are locked away in hell now as well. We've all been gathered into Israel. I believe that is, we will all be in Israel. That'll be our new home. There is then a 75-year lull between the end of the tribulation and the beginning of the millennial reign. Now, during this 75 years, I do not know what's going to happen. The way my luck runs, it's going to be 75 years of cleanup. And we'll go from being heroes to being janitors, but I'd much rather be a janitor than burning in hell. And besides, we will be getting the earth ready for the return of King David. David will be reinstated as leader on the earth of us. Jesus is king, and then David will reign through Jesus. The 75 years may also be when the great Bema seat is held. Now, the Bema seat is going to be done in several different sections. You'll have the Old Testament saints will be given their rewards. The New Testament saints will be given their rewards. The New Testament Christians and the Christians through the church age will be given our rewards. And finally, those that died during the tribulation will receive their rewards. It makes sense that would happen during the 75-year lull, but it's either going to happen then or it will happen during the millennial reign. Now, the millennial reign is 1,000 years on earth. There will be two types of people down here. There will be the glorified people. Now, the glorified people are those that were raised from the first resurrection. Well, actually, the second resurrection, because Jesus was the first resurrection, then we will be resurrected. And we will be resurrected with perfect bodies. Our bodies will come up out of the grave, be taken from where we are. Children will be taken, babies will be taken. Babies that haven't been born yet will just simply disappear and be taken. It will be a time where we will get to use our resurrected bodies during this time. We cannot survive on earth without our resurrected bodies, because when we are in heaven before the resurrection, we are in spiritual bodies. That's why we cannot come back to earth, because our human form is laying in a grave. And it will lay in the grave until the rapture hits, and then Our bodies will be glorified, resurrected, and joined with our souls. Okay, so we will have the glorified people. Now, the other people will be the tribulation saints that survived. The reason why there's a distinction between these two is it appears that those that have not died will be able to marry and have babies and live a fairly normal life, as normal as you can without sin. Now, I can't wait for that to see that. That's going to be so cool. We're not going to want to sin. We're not going to sin. Everything's going to be perfect. Everybody's going to get along. It's going to be great. We're going to have 1,000 years there on earth, and then we'll have a rest up in heaven for an eternity. Glorified will not be able to marry, have kids, because our bodies have been perfected. However, they will, and nobody will die during the 1,000-year reign except for those that refuse to accept Jesus Christ. And how you won't be able to accept him during this time, I do not know, since Satan's not there and everybody can see what Jesus has done. But there's a Bible verse that says we will be looked at as babies even at 100 years old, and if we have not been saved by that time, we will die and be cursed. So during this 1,000 years, we will be doing whatever we do. Me and Steve will be teaching again, and I'm already asking for Laura Ellison to be my aide. I know we won't have special ed, but I figure we're going to need help in the classroom. Now, it's going to be a different classroom too. No sin, no people on drugs, no drug babies, no sick babies. It's going to be different learning standards, different curriculum. Wow. That's one of the most amazing thoughts that I live on, is how much life is going to be different, and how teaching is going to be different. Of course, there'll be builders, there'll be cooks, be worship leaders. I'm not sure there'll be preachers. I'm sure the Lord will want to hear the preaching, but it will not be preaching to save, since we're all saved. Maybe some for the ones that's born. So at this time, we have the 1,000 years. We've been on earth. And we've seen people live and die. Now, it's glorified. We are going to be ageless. We're not going to age. And the ones that are tribulation saints are going to slowly age. This will also, after 1,000 years, we will see Satan released one more time. Where he says a short season. I do not know what a short season is. But once again, he'll put together an army, the people that's on earth, and try to overthrow the government and try to win the earth. And once again, he will fail. And this time, Like all those previously that were sent to hell, including the Antichrist and the false prophet, he will admit that Jesus is God. And then he will be cast into the fiery pit of hell. And there will be no more Satan at this particular time or ever. Now, after Satan has been thrown into hell, there is a third resurrection. Or if you just count the resurrection by the amount of people, this will be the second resurrection, but it's actually the third resurrection. And this is everyone that was lost will be raised from the dead again. And all the tribulation saints that were died and that survived at this point will get their glorified bodies. As good and as bad to that one, the good part is Christians will all finally be reunited. We will be getting ready for the supper of the Lamb. The wedding between the church and God will finally be able to take place at this particular point. That's the good news. The bad news is it also opens the door for the great white throne judgment. As you all know, and I've made it very clear, I don't like talking about the great white throne judgment for fear that I'm going to wind up there. I don't think I am. I'm 99% sure I'm saved. I'd be 100%, but it's like I say, I think Satan's working in my mind that keeps me from believing I'm 100% saved. But I'm 99.9% sure. I do remember times when I thought I gave my heart and life to Jesus. But it's like I say, it kind of scares me because there's certain parts of the Bible that says, "Depart from me, I never knew you," even though they live for Him. And I have seen dozens of Christians when I was at Robinwood Baptist Church during our heyday there that thought they were Christians, that lived like Christians, that looked like Christians, that acted like Christians, but weren't Christians. And they came to get saved, and that sort of worked. It's good in one way that they got saved, but it also works in your mind. Well, if so and so is lost, can be lost, am I lost? And there's a lot of factors that go in that. But what great white throne judgment is here. Now it will be a trial, but the verdict is already in. The evidence is already in, and there will be no mercy on the court. These people will be brought. The unsaved will be brought up from hell, judged, and taken from the cells in hell and cast into the lake of fire. Once they are cast into the lake of fire, they will stay there for eternity. Now, I know there are some religions that teach that you only stay there for a short time, then you're allowed into heaven. That's not what the Bible says. If you look at the rich man and Lazarus story, which I believe is a true story because Jesus always started out his parables as, "This is a parable," and he did not do that with this time. He went right in and he told the story. The rich man wanted Lazarus to come over to him dip his finger in some cold water and just cool his tongue. And Abraham told him that when he was alive, he had good and Lazarus had bad. And now that they're dead, he's got the bad and Lazarus got the good. And he wouldn't send them over there because of that. But he also couldn't send them over because there is a great void during this time. And the void will not allow a person to go from heaven to hell or from hell to heaven or paradise as it was at this time, but then paradise is going to be brought into heaven. That was already done when Jesus died. One day we will talk about the death of Jesus and what it meant. There's a lot of things that we take for granted, and there's a lot of things we don't realize happened that happened. Uh, After the 1,000 years, after the great white throne judgment, the new heaven and the new earth will be brought in. I do not know if we're going to get a completely new one or if it's going to be a restored version. Everything points to a restored version from what Dr. Jeremiah has said, the way the scriptures read. Either way, it's Jesus' world and he can do whatever he wants to with it. Once the new heaven and the new earth is finished, we will be where we spend our eternity. You will either be in heaven or you will be in the bottomless pit for all eternity. You will not die in the bottomless pit. You will burn forever. If you have any questions, be sure to write me. Remember, keep it classy, not trashy. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, same rules. Uh, there is a like button below me. If you like this video, give it a like. And be sure to subscribe. I haven't asked for subscribers, but here lately, I kind of like to see how many subscribers I actually could get. Right now, I'm shooting for 1,000, so help me get there. That's all I have for tonight. We will be finishing the book I'm working on now on my Bible study, and then we will start a new book. I've not decided which one. I've got one that talks about the economics, but I don't like math, so I may not do that one right away. I'll eventually do it, but not right now. But if you want me to do it, I'll be glad to do it. I'm going to be finishing up God and Donald Trump this coming year. I think the next book we're going to look at is we will take a look at the people that will be part of the tribulation. We'll get more information on the Antichrist, the two witnesses, the 144,000, and the other individuals that will work together to create the 7 years. Also, one day we're going to talk about and look at how everything is interlinked together. All of our lives are interlinked together. What affects somebody in Ukraine will eventually affect us over here in this country. Uh, Once you look at history and you see all of the way that the impact of linkage is, because the book of Daniel links everything to everybody. If you don't have Alexander the Great, then you don't have Rome. If you don't have the Persians taking over, the Babylonians, you don't have the Greeks, you don't have Rome. So if you don't have one, you can't have the other. And you do not get the Old Testament in Greek by the time the Lord comes. And then everything is lost. The Bible is lost anyway. Like I said, we will take a look at that much closer. Have a good night. Happy New Year if I don't get to see some of y'all. Uh, Remember to pray for me because January 1st is going to be the anniversary of Stephen's death. And December 31st is the day I buried mom and dad. Wow, it's been about a year. Anyway, y'all have a great day, great evening, super day tomorrow, and everybody stay safe. We can't afford to lose any more people. Goodbye.